In 1977, a young woman officer from a cozy California beach town went missing without a trace during her regular nighttime rounds. Most folks thought she just walked away from her badge and bolted, but 13 years later, a fisherman stumbled upon something chilling at the bottom of a lonely cliff, her weather patrol car, rising from the sea with clues that unveiled a terrifying secret about that night. On a foggy March morning in 1990, a heavy mist draped over Half Moon Bay, California, wrapping the coastal bluffs like a veil. Lieutenant Michael Thompson was brewing his second pot of coffee at home when his radio sparked to life. Unit 12, this is dispatch. We've got a 10 to 54 at Devil's Drop. A fisherman spotted what might be a police cruiser at the cliff's base. Need you there ASAP. Michael's hand paused, hovering over his bagel. Devil's Drop, that perilous slice of Highway 1 where the ocean crashed against jagged rocks, was a route he'd patrolled for 20 years. Something about this call sent a chill down his spine. Dispatch, Unit 12 here. Thompson responding. I'll be there in 10. He snatched his coat and rushed to his cruiser, leaving the coffee cooling on the counter. As he peeled out of his driveway, his radio buzzed again. Mike, it's Sarah. Detective Sarah Martinez's voice was sharp with urgency. I'm already headed there. Chopper's on its way. Meet me at the North Lookout. Got it. What's the deal? The fisherman swears it's one of ours. Old model, beat to hell. Mike, she hesitated, dispatch checked missing patrol cars in the area. Only ones unaccounted for in the last 20 years. Michael's grip tightened on the wheel, his knuckles blanching. He didn't need her to spell it out. Emily, his wife, gone for 13 years, her cruiser vanishing during a routine shift in 1977. The drive to Devil's Drop clocked in at exactly 9 minutes and 37 seconds. Michael counted every tick, his mind flooded with memories he'd fought to suppress. Emily in her sharp blue uniform, her badge shining as she pecked him goodbye that final night, her strange smile as she vowed to stay safe, the cold, empty side of the bed that greeted him when she never came home. When he pulled up, the lookout was buzzing with patrol cars, their flashing lights casting eerie hues through the fog. Yellow tape blocked off the cliff's edge, where officers clustered, staring down at the rocky shore. Michael spotted Sarah right away, her black hair tied back in a tight bun, her detective badge glinting at her waist. Mike, she said, turning as he neared, her hazel eyes soft with empathy. Brace yourself. The coroner's on the way. He gave a tight nod and elbowed through to the cliff's edge. Down below, half hidden in the misty haze, lay the mangled wreck of a patrol car. Even from up here, he could see rust devouring the metal like a disease, the roof crumpled from years under the ocean's weight. The unmistakable thwop-thwop of a helicopter signaled the rescue team's arrival. Michael watched as the Coast Guard chopper swooped low, its crew rigging thick cables to hoist the wreckage. Nearby stood the fisherman who'd found it, a grizzled guy in his 60s, dressed in worn overalls and rubber boots. You saw it first? Michael asked. The man nodded, visibly rattled. I've fished these waters for 30 years. That car wasn't there last week, I'd bet my boat on it. The storm 2 days back must have freed it from wherever it was stuck. When the sun caught that chrome bumper this morning, he shook his head. I knew something was off. You did right by calling it in, Sarah said, stepping up. Can you walk us through what you saw? While the fisherman shared his story, Michael kept an eye on the chopper crew. They scaled the cliff with smooth precision, securing cables to the car's frame. It was slow, careful work. One slip could send crucial evidence into the Pacific's depths. Hoisting now, the radio crackled. The officers hushed as the cables pulled tight. Gradually, almost miraculously, the rusted heap began to lift. Water gushed from shattered windows like a morning cry, and bits of corrosion and debris tumbled onto the rocks below. Michael held his breath as the wreck cleared the cliff's rim and was eased onto a cleared patch of ground. Up close, the damage was gut-wrenching. The patrol car, a 1975 Dodge Coronet, the kind Emily drove, was barely a shell of its former self. The sea had been merciless, with rust gnawing through whole sections and barnacles encrusting the undercarriage like a crusty shield. Forensics swooped in, snapping photos from every angle before diving into their inspection. Michael willed himself to stay back, to let them do their job, though every fiber of his being urged him to rip the doors off and hunt for answers. "Plate still half readable," a tech shouted. "Checking it now." Sarah's hand rested on Michael's shoulder. "You don't need to stay for this." "I'm not going anywhere." The tech at the laptop looked up, his expression grim. "Vince, a match. This is Officer Emily Thompson's cruiser." The confirmation slammed into Michael like a fist, though he'd sensed it, known it deep down, since the call came in. 13 years of uncertainty, of wondering if she'd walked out on him, on her career, on everything. Now, here was proof something awful had gone down that night. Opening the driver's side, the lead forensic tech called. He tugged, and the door broke clean off, its hinges eaten away by rust. Inside was a grim tableau of decay, seats rotted to bare springs, the dashboard a lump of corroded ruin. "No remains visible," the tech noted, and Michael let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, unsure if it was relief or despair. The search pressed on, meticulous. Items surfaced like relics from a lost era: a flashlight, its batteries long leaked into goo; a ticket book, its pages fused into a soggy brick. Then, from under the driver's seat, a glinting brass shell casing. .40 caliber, the tech said, lifting it. "Matches department issued rounds." "Blood," another tech reported from the back. "Faded, but definitely blood under the rear seat." He popped the trunk, sweeping his flashlight across the rusted interior. "Heavy traces here, too." A sharp voice sliced through the scene. "What in God's name is happening here?" Captain Robert Larson, the department's top brass, stormed past the crime scene tape with the swagger of a man who owned the place, which, Michael mused, wasn't far from the truth. Larson had been Emily's boss back in '77, too. Now pushing 60, he'd thickened at the waist but still carried the commanding presence of someone used to getting his way. "Robert," Sarah said. "We verified it's Emily Thompson's cruiser." Larson's face cycled through emotions before landing on practiced concern. "Jesus, after all these years." He glanced at Michael. "You shouldn't be here." "I'm good." "Blood and a casing," the forensic chief recapped. "No dash cam found, probably ruined by the saltwater. But this is absolutely a crime scene." Larson stroked his jaw. "Hold on, let's not rush to judgment. That blood could be anybody's. For all we know, Emily might have," he chose his words with care, "gotten mixed up in something messy, maybe shot someone, freaked out, and dumped the car." "That's not Emily," Michael said, his voice steady but firm. "She'd never do that." "It's been a long time, Mike. People aren't always who we believe them to be." Larson's tone was kind but unyielding. "We'll handle this by the book. No guesses." Sarah cut in before Michael could snap back. "We'll need DNA tests on the blood. It's cutting edge, costly, but it's necessary." Larson gave a curt nod. "If it's a homicide, we pull out all the resources needed. He scanned the area. The press is going to swarm this. We need a statement ready. As if on cue, a news van rolled up, followed swiftly by two more. In no time, reporters camped out just past the tape, their lenses locked on the battered cruiser. Before Michael could stop himself, he was facing a wall of cameras, mics thrust at him like spears. "Lieutenant Thompson, what's it like to finally get answers about your wife's vanishing? Was Officer Emily under scrutiny before she disappeared? Do you think she was killed?" Michael stood tall, staring into the nearest lens. Officer Emily Thompson was a devoted member of this force. She'd just earned her patrol sergeant stripes when she went missing in 1977. She was diligent, trustworthy, and deeply committed to this community. We'll dig into this find with full professionalism and uncover what happened to her. The ocean's finally given up its secrets, and we won't let this chance slip away. More questions bombarded him, but Sarah eased him away from the frenzy. Behind them, the forensics crew kept at it, cataloging each scrap of evidence with care. "You handled that well," Sarah said as they reached their cars. "Head home, Mike. Take a breather." Larson appeared at Michael's side. "She's right. You're too tangled up in this. Step back for a few days. Let us take the lead. I can work this case." "No, you can't." Larson's voice left no room for debate. "Your emotions are in the driver's seat. That's not a dig, it's just how it is." Sarah nodded, though reluctantly. "I'll take point, work with the team, and keep you in the loop every step, Mike. You can count on me." Michael glanced between them, then back at the rusted husk of Emily's cruiser. After 13 years, the truth was tantalizingly close. But they were right, he was too raw, too invested. "I've got copies of the old case files at home," he said at last. "I'll go over them, see if we overlooked anything." "That's okay," Larson said, clearly relieved. "Just don't start playing lone detective." Sarah walked Michael to his cruiser. "I'm heading to the station to pull every record, log books from 77, duty schedules, the works. We'll crack this. Someone murdered her, Sarah." His voice was rough, raw. All this time, people whispering she bailed on her duty, but someone took her life. We don't know that for sure yet. Blood in the trunk, a bullet casing, what else could it mean? Sarah's face was compassionate but firm. "We chased the evidence. That's our only path." Michael slid into his cruiser and fired it up. In his rearview, he saw the forensics team still at work, the corroded remnants of the past finally hauled into the open. He shifted into gear and drove home, his thoughts already sifting through the dusty files stacked in his office, hunting for the detail they'd missed 13 years ago. Michael's house stood still under the midday sun, a modest two-story in a half-moon bay neighborhood where cops and schoolteachers were neighbors. He shoved through the front door and beelined for his home office, coat still on. The box waited on the closet's top shelf, right where he'd stashed it 5 years back during his last review, plain cardboard, E. Thompson, 1977, scrawled in black marker on the side. He pulled it down and sank to the office floor, spreading its contents around him like fragments of an unsolved mystery. Emily's photo gazed up from her personnel file, blonde hair styled in the feathered look of the late 70s, blue eyes alight with pride, her new sergeant stripes crisp on her uniform. She was 28 when the picture was snapped, just 2 weeks before she vanished. He reached for the log book copies first, tracing his finger along the entries for November 18, 1977. Emily's handwriting, clean and exact, 2,000 hours, starting patrol, Sector 7. Then, 15 minutes later, 2015, routine stop, Highway 1, mile marker 42. Verbal warning given. Nothing followed. No call for help, no note of anything suspicious, no backup request, just a void. Michael sifted through the witness statements, just 3 of them. Her partner that night, Officer Jennifer Clark, had offered a brief report, last saw Officer Thompson at 2000 hours, heading out for solo patrol. She was in high spirits, mentioned wanting to wrap up early for a late-night TV movie. The other 2 came from locals who'd spotted a patrol car that night but couldn't say for sure it was Emily's. Bare bones. Maddeningly sparse. He slumped against the wall, eyes fixed on the papers strewn across the carpet. Emily wouldn't have driven her cruiser off Devil's Drop. The logistics didn't add up. How could she have escaped after that? Someone else had to be involved. His gaze landed on the duty roster. Jennifer Clark had been Emily's partner, but at the bottom of the log page was another name, Deputy David Carter, night shift supervisor. He'd signed off on the logs, vouching for their accuracy. Michael grabbed his phone and dialed Sarah's cell. She picked up after 2 rings. "Mike, I'm almost at the station. Robert's already there. The team's still at the scene. I need to talk about David Carter. He signed the log book the night Emily went missing." "Carter?" "He moved to San Mateo County about 8 years back." "What's up with him?" "I want to speak with him." "Can you dig up his current contact info when you're at the station?" "You got it. You coming by?" "I'm on my way." Michael scooped the files back into the box and stood. The house felt too silent, heavy with memories. He needed action, purpose. Instead of heading straight to the station, he found himself steering onto Highway 1, south toward Emily's old patrol zone. 20 minutes later, he pulled over at mile marker 42, where her last traffic stop was logged. The landscape hadn't changed much in 13 years, coastal shrubs and grasses swaying in the constant breeze, the Pacific stretching gray-blue to the west. Eastward, he could make out the old industrial docks at Moss Landing, their metal structures pitted with rust and battered by weather. They'd scoured the area in '77, turned up nothing. Why was Emily out here alone? Protocol demanded partners after dark, especially in such remote spots. He was about to head back to his cruiser when the growl of another patrol car caught his ear. The black and white slowed as it passed, then pulled alongside. The window rolled down, revealing a face Michael hadn't seen in years. "Michael Thompson, is that you?" David Carter had aged gracefully, his hair now silver, but his features still sharp and vigilant. He wore the San Mateo County Sheriff's uniform with the relaxed confidence of a seasoned cop. "David, talk about timing. I was just thinking of you." "Yeah, heard about this morning. They really found Emily's cruiser." David's face showed sympathy, but his eyes were wary. "At Devil's Drop. I was just retracing her old patrol route." David nodded slowly. "Rough deal, after all these years." He checked his watch. "I'd love to chat more, but I'm running late for my shift. Actually, I wanted to ask about the log book from that night. You signed it." A flicker crossed David's eyes. "That was 13 years back, Mike. But yeah, I recall signing it. Everything checked out, same as always." He put the car in gear. "How about we grab a coffee soon? Catch up on old times. I'm patrolling San Pedro today, near Valley Park. Hit me up at the department." "Will do." David offered a quick wave and drove off, his cruiser vanishing around the coastal curve. Settling into his cruiser, Michael flipped on the radio as he drove toward the station. A news segment was airing, replaying his morning interview. Officer Emily Thompson was a steadfast part of our force. She'd just climbed to patrol sergeant when she vanished in 1977. Dedicated, upright, and devoted to this town. His own voice bounced back, and a chilling realization hit him. Emily, young, female, and driven, had been newly promoted in a department full of traditionalist cops. Michael knew all too well how cutthroat the internal politics could get, how some officers bristled at change or at a rising star like her. He tried to shake off the thought, these were his colleagues, people he'd trusted with his life. Yet doubts gnawed at him. Why was Emily out there alone that night? Who sent her to such a remote patrol route? He pressed the gas pedal harder, determination burning. Answers were out there, and he'd hunt them down. When Michael pulled into the Half Moon Bay police station lot, it was half deserted, the afternoon shift change still an hour off. As he reached for the door handle, he caught sight of Captain Robert Larson pacing by the building's side, phone glued to his ear. Even from 50 feet away, the strain in Larson's movements was clear, short, restless steps, his free hand slicing the air. His voice carried across the lot, sharp and tense. The cars surfaced. "Your move, get on it now." Michael froze, hands still on the handle, Larson's urgent, almost frantic tone sinking in. He eased out of the cruiser quietly, shutting the door with a faint click. Larson must have sensed something because he whirled around. Eyes widening when he spotted Michael. The shock on his face morphed into something harder to read, worry. Panic. He quickly lowered his voice, muttering into the phone before hanging up. "Mike," Larson called, forcing a grin. "What are you doing here? Didn't I tell you to take a break?" Michael approached, keeping his face neutral. "Couldn't sit still." "That call about Emily's case?" "What?" "Oh, yeah, the call." Larson fumbled his phone into his pocket. "It was the sheriff's evidence yard, giving me a hard time about moving the car. You know how it goes, 13 years in saltwater, it's practically a biohazard now. EPA rules, all that jazz. They need it at a special facility pronto, but the transport company's dragging their heels." His laugh sounded strained. "I had to rattle their cage. Told M, your job, move it fast, or we'll have county inspectors all over us." It tracked. Michael had navigated evidence transport before, knew the red tape around hazardous materials. Bureaucracy's relentless, huh? "You're telling me." Larson swiped at his forehead, though the March air was crisp. "Come on, let's head in." They stepped through the station's front doors together, the familiar buzz of the bullpen washing over Michael, ringing phones, the aroma of brewing coffee, the quiet hum of organized chaos that defined police life. He spotted Sarah right away, deep in conversation with two forensic techs near the evidence room. She glanced up as he neared but raised a finger. "Hold on. Degraded samples are always tricky," one tech was saying. "This new DNA tech needs pristine genetic material." "What we got from that car?" He shook his head. 13 years submerged, tainted by salt, rust, and ocean bacteria. "It'll take weeks, maybe months." "No way to speed it up?" Sarah asked. "Not without risking the results. We've confirmed blood's present, but getting enough clean DNA for a match," the tech shrugged. Michael's hope sank. Without DNA, they couldn't even prove Emily was in the car when it went over. "What about the bullet casing?" Sarah pushed. The other tech flipped through his notes. That's more solid. It's a .40 caliber, matches the ammo the department issued in '77, same weight, same brand. If Officer Thompson fired her gun that night, this could be it. Michael shut his eyes, the possibilities crashing over him, Emily's weapon, her blood, or someone else's. The uncertainty was infuriating. When he opened his eyes, he caught Larson slipping down the hall toward his office, his steps unsteady. Sarah finally stepped away from the techs. Sorry about that. You holding up? I need to talk to Larson about David Carter. I ran into him on Highway 1, right where Emily used to patrol. Sarah's brows shot up. That's a hell of a coincidence. Exactly what I thought. Michael gave her shoulder a light touch. I'm gonna catch up with Larson. We'll talk after. I'll be in my office. Got something you need to see. Michael headed down the hall and rapped on Larson's door. It's Mike. Come in. He pushed the door open to find Larson quickly shutting a desk drawer, swallowing what looked like pills with a gulp of water. Blood pressure meds, Larson said without prompting. This case is, a lot. He waved vaguely. You shouldn't be here, Mike. I was serious about taking time off. Tried that, couldn't stay away. Michael noted Larson's slouch, his flushed cheeks. I need to ask about David Carter. Larson's face tightened. What about him? I saw him today at Emily's old patrol route. He was the night supervisor who signed off on her log book when she disappeared. And someone had to sign it. Larson, something's bugging me. If Emily was attacked that night, she'd have radioed it in. She was too sharp not to. But there's nothing after 8:15. Larson rubbed his temples hard. That's why we always figured she just took off. No distress call, no reports of trouble, no witnesses spotting anything odd. But that doesn't line up with what we found today: blood, a bullet casing. You're chasing ghosts, wasting resources. Larson's tone sharpened. David Carter's a solid cop. You're gonna start pointing fingers at your own based on what? A signature from a 13-year-old log? I'm not pointing fingers. I just want the full story. Larson stood suddenly, then gripped the desk as he wobbled. I can't. I gotta check on the car transport, make sure it gets to the evidence yard right. He moved toward the door but stumbled. Michael grabbed his arm, startled by the clammy feel of Larson's skin through his shirt. Jesus, Larson, you sure you're okay? Maybe grab a coffee or, I'm fine. Larson pulled free, forcing a chuckle. It's this damn diet my wife's got me on. Low blood sugar and stress are a bad combo. He adjusted his tie with shaky hands. We need hard leads, Mike, not wild theories about our own people. Michael watched Larson leave, noting how he forgot to lock his office and nearly bumped into the bullpen's glass door. Something was off, no question. But before he could follow, Sarah appeared at his side. My office, now. Inside, she shut the door and pulled a paper from her desk. I was digging through old files, checking cases Emily worked in '77. Found this, buried in the wrong place. Michael took the document, a witness statement, but it was strange, no signature, no official stamp, just typed words describing a patrol car and a white van on Devil's Drop Road the night Emily vanished. Where'd you find this? In a totally unrelated file. A burglary case from 3 months later. Sarah handed him the burglary file. Look, It's got nothing to do with Emily or that night. Michael examined both papers. Why stash it instead of shredding it? Sarah lowered her voice. Maybe someone wanted a safety net, a fallback story if things got hot. Or they just forgot it was there. Either way, someone in this department knew more than they let on. Michael saw the name on the statement, Jessica Reynolds. Hold up, that name, I already pulled the official file, Sarah said, producing another folder. There's another statement from Jessica Reynolds, signed and stamped, all proper. Michael skimmed it fast. In this one, Jessica claimed she saw nothing out of the ordinary that night. Same witness, 2 contradictory accounts. She's got an address and number listed. Michael glanced at his watch. Still local, in the Fairmont area. Sarah grabbed her coat. I'm with you. I've got a feeling Jessica Reynolds has some answers we need. They headed out, Michael's mind spinning. Fresh evidence, hidden papers, conflicting stories. After 13 years, the carefully built wall of silence around Emily's disappearance was starting to crumble. Sarah's unmarked Crown Victoria carried the faint scent of coffee and old paperwork as they left the station lot. Michael held the witness statement, punching Jessica Reynolds' number into his phone. Answer, damn it, he muttered as it rang endlessly. After the 4th try, he flipped the phone shut. Line's dead. Either it's disconnected, or she's not picking up. Her place is just 5 minutes out, Sarah said, turning onto Monterey Road. Fairmont's a quiet, blue-collar neighborhood. The houses shrank as they drove, tidy post-war bungalows with small yards and American cars parked out front. Sarah eased off the gas as they hit Belinda Street, scanning house numbers. Should be on the right, Michael said. 2847, 2851, there it is. Hang on. Sarah tapped the brakes lightly. Check that out. Robert Larson's department sedan was parked in front of a faded yellow house with peeling paint and an unkempt lawn. Larson himself stood on the porch, facing a woman in her early 40s, her arms crossed tightly, her stance defensive. Sarah pulled over 3 houses down, cutting the engine. Through the windshield, they watched Larson point sharply at the woman, his expression stern. Even from here, the tension in his posture was obvious, his body leaning forward aggressively. What's he doing here? Michael whispered. The woman, likely Jessica, shook her head over and over, edging toward her door. Larson pulled a thick envelope from his jacket and pressed it into her hands, leaning in close to say something that made her recoil. That's no standard interview, Sarah noted. Larson spun around and marched back to his car. They ducked instinctively as he drove by, though his focus seemed locked straight ahead. Once his taillights vanished around the corner, they saw Jessica slip inside, clutching the envelope. Well, Sarah said, things just got a lot more interesting. They approached the house cautiously, noting the scattered mechanics' tools on the porch and oil stains on the driveway. Michael knocked firmly. The door swung open fast, Jessica's face already twisted with irritation. What more do you people want? She froze, seeing unfamiliar faces. Michael noticed her red-rimmed eyes, her hands trembling slightly. Miss Reynolds, I'm Lieutenant Michael Thompson. This is Detective Sarah Martinez, Half Moon Bay PD. Jessica's expression shifted from anger to confusion, then something like dread. I don't. What's this about? We need to ask about a statement you gave in 1977, Michael said. Can we come in? I've got no business with you. She started to shut the door. Sarah stepped forward. We just saw you talking to our boss, Robert Larson. We're working the same case, and we really need to hear from you. Jessica's face paled. Her eyes darted between them, then to the papers in Michael's hand. I don't know what you're talking about. Michael held up both statements, the hidden one and the official one. We need you to clear these up. Jessica stared at the documents for a long moment, then her shoulders slumped in resignation. She rolled her eyes and stepped back. Fine, come in, but this is the last time I'm dealing with this. The living room was small but neat, adorned with photos from happier days. Jessica motioned to a worn sofa and sank into a recliner across from them, still gripping Larson's envelope. I don't know what you expect me to say, she started. How about the truth? Sarah said softly. We know you gave 2 different statements about the night Officer Emily Thompson disappeared. We need to know what you actually saw. Jessica gave a bitter laugh. The truth? You want that after 13 years? She scrubbed her face with both hands. I'm exhausted. Done carrying this weight, these lies, this guilt. Michael leaned in. Then open up. Help us make sense of it. Jessica stared at the envelope in her lap for a drawn-out moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely a murmur. I was headed to work that night, November 18, 1977. I was a ranger at San Pedro Valley Park, pulling the evening shift. Around 8:30, driving past Devil's Drop Road, I saw a female officer pulling over a white van, all by herself. She paused, lost in the recollection. Didn't think much of it, cops do traffic stops all the time, right? So I kept going. Can you describe the van? Sarah asked, jotting notes. White, older, probably early 70s, no rear windows, like something a contractor would drive. Jessica shifted in her seat. Anyway, I got to work, did my rounds. It was a quiet night, and I was bored, so around 10, I called my husband to come hang out. She looked sheepish. We met up in the park. You know, young, married, craving a little thrill. The park's massive, full of secluded spots in the woods. We found a quiet place and, she gestured vaguely. You know. What happened next? Michael urged. We heard something, a shout, maybe a scream. Hard to tell with the wind and trees. My husband wanted to check it out, but the park's huge. Sounds bounce around in the dark, all eerie. We wandered for about 15 minutes but found nothing. What time was this? Around 11:30, maybe midnight. I wasn't exactly timing it. Jessica's voice turned sour. When I got back to my post around 12:30, I saw that same white van leaving the park. I'm positive it was the one from the traffic stop. Michael and Sarah exchanged a look. You're sure it was the same van? Dead certain. It had a crescent-shaped dent on the right rear panel. And you reported it? Jessica's face crumpled. I tried. The next day, when I heard about the missing officer last seen on Highway 1, I went to the station, gave my statement. But your boss, Larson, he took over. She shoved the envelope at them. Take this. I'm done with it. All of it. Michael tore open the envelope, revealing $3,000 in tattered bills. He bribed you to alter your statement, Michael said, his tone flat. Not questioning. Jessica nodded, her face etched with misery. He claimed my original account of the white van was too vague, muddled. Told me to streamline it, say I saw nothing. Acted like he was saving me from trouble. But there's more to it, isn't there? Sarah's voice was soft yet unyielding. Yeah. Tears streamed down Jessica's cheeks. A week later, my park supervisor got wind of me and my husband sneaking off together there. Someone tipped them off anonymously. I got canned for unprofessional behavior, blacklisted from ranger jobs everywhere. Larson made damn sure of that. So you stayed silent, Michael said. What else could I do? My dad was ill, drowning in hospital bills. She gestured at the humble room around her. I took over his auto shop, barely kept us afloat. Every few months, Larson would show up with another envelope, saying it was, for your troubles or, to keep things quiet. Sarah rose. Ms. Reynolds, we need you at the station to give an official statement, to help us nail Robert. Jessica shook her head fiercely. No way. You saw him here today. He knows something's up. I hate to sound selfish, but I've got to protect my family. My dad's still sick, still needs care, and my husband's long gone to another state, blaming me for our financial mess. Larson could ruin what little we've got left. But your testimony won't cut it, Jessica cut in, her voice resolute. You know it's not enough. He's a big-shot supervisor with over 20 years on the force. I'm a nobody, a disgraced ranger caught fooling around on the job. Who's gonna take my word over his? Michael wanted to push back, but he got her fear. He'd seen the system grind down those without clout or allies. Get more evidence, Jessica urged. Build an airtight case he can't dodge. Then I'll testify, but not a second sooner. Back in the cruiser, Michael sagged in his seat. She's got a point. Her word alone won't take down Larson. But now we know there's something out there to uncover, Sarah said, turning the key in the ignition. A white van in the park that night, Larson burying it. This goes way beyond Emily. Michael sat up abruptly. David Carter mentioned he's patrolling San Pedro Valley today, the same park where Jessica worked. That's no random chance. Sarah's eyes sparked with resolve. Let's find out what Deputy Carter's really up to. San Pedro Valley Park sprawled ahead, a vast stretch of coastal ridges and redwood thickets climbing from the ocean toward the Santa Cruz Mountains. Sarah pulled into the main lot, afternoon sunlight filtering through eucalyptus trees at the entrance. There, Michael said sharply. Larson's car. The supervisor's sedan was parked near the ranger station, right beside the black and white cruiser Michael had seen earlier. He double-checked the plate. That's David Carter's unit, same one from this morning. Sarah scanned the lot. We need to stay out of sight. Can't let them spot us. She eased the Crown Victoria into a spot tucked between a van and a pickup, shielded by drooping branches. They had a clear view of both cars while staying hidden. Michael grabbed a park map from the visitor box as they stepped out. The trail network spread over thousands of acres: Hazelnut Trail, Weiler Ranch Road, Middle Peak. Finding anything in this wilderness would be like hunting for a single pebble on a shore. We can't just roam around hoping to, Michael started, but Sarah silenced him with a finger to her lips. She pointed through the trees. Two figures stepped out from a trailhead 50 yards off: Robert Larson, still in his suit despite the rugged setting, and David Carter in his San Mateo County uniform. Carter carried a shovel and a hefty gear bag, while Larson gripped a large black plastic bag, the heavy-duty kind used for construction debris. They moved purposefully toward their vehicles, Larson's face flushed with effort and irritation, though he kept his voice hushed. Michael and Sarah crept closer, using the tree lean for cover. I told you this was overkill, Carter was saying. Larson popped his trunk and carefully set the plastic bag inside a wooden crate. Overkill? Did you catch Thompson on the news this morning? They found the damn car, David. Carter loaded his shovel and bag into his cruiser. So. It's been 13 years. There's nothing left to, there's blood, Larson snapped, his voice taut with barely contained panic. Bullet casings. And this new DNA tech they've got. You have no idea how precise it is. The body's been buried for 13 years, Robert. Probably just bones now. No one's finding it on Middle Peak, it's a hiking-only trail, 2 miles deep in the wild. Who's gonna look there? Larson shifted the crate to Carter's trunk, grunting with the effort. Michael noted how carefully he handled it despite his agitation. Are you dense? Larson smacked the back of Carter's head. If they confirm that blood's Emily's, what's next? They'll hunt for the body, start grilling everyone again, Jessica, the rangers we've paid to stay quiet. One of them talks, and we're done. Carter rubbed his head, glaring. Fine, but where am I supposed to stash it? I can't just cruise around with remains in my trunk. Somewhere safe, somewhere even I don't know. That way, if this blows up, I can pass a lie detector. Carter paused, thinking. What about that spot near those guys, our business contacts? If anyone gets close, the heat falls on them, not us. For the first time, Larson's lips twitched into a near smile. Now you're using your head. Just handle it, David. And make sure no one sees you. They slammed their trunks shut. Larson climbed into his sedan, Carter into his cruiser. Michael and Sarah slipped back into the trees as the engines roared to life. Larson's car veered left at the park exit, heading toward town. Carter's cruiser turned right, north along the coast. They hurried back to their car, Sarah sliding behind the wheel before Michael fully closed his door. She waited until Carter had a 30-second lead before pulling out. Thank God we didn't have to trek Middle Peak, Sarah muttered, keeping Carter's cruiser in sight while staying far enough back. 2 miles through rugged terrain, we'd have been at it for hours. That's gotta be Emily in that bag, Michael said, his voice heavy with grief. 13 years, out there all alone. We can't be sure yet, Sarah warned, though her tone betrayed her own suspicion. But whatever's in that crate, Larson and Carter are hell-bent on keeping it hidden. They tailed Carter north on Highway 1, past Devil's Drop, where this nightmare had kicked off just hours earlier. Michael kept his eyes on the cruiser ahead, his mind churning. Carter had mentioned those people and business partners. What kind of dealings did a dirty cop have with partners worth shielding? At the Highway 92 junction, Larson's sedan turned inland toward Half Moon Bay, as expected. Carter kept heading north. He's actually doing it, Sarah said. Moving a body in broad daylight, in a damn police car. They've gotten away with this for 13 years, Michael replied. This town's sleepy. Why would they think today's any different? After half an hour of following Carter's cruiser along the coast, Sarah noted, we're hitting Sharp Park now. Michael leaned forward, spotting the familiar industrial sprawl ahead. There's the water treatment plant. He's pulling in. The Sharp Park water treatment plant was a massive maze of concrete structures and cylindrical tanks, ringed by chain-link fences and warning signs. Carter's cruiser bypassed the main gate, heading for a service road at the back. Sarah veered off the main road, tucking behind a row of storage units that gave them a view of Carter's movements. Through the fence, they saw him park in a secluded spot near overgrown grassland along the facility's rear boundary. He's on the move, Michael said. Carter stepped out, opened his trunk, lifted the wooden crate with the plastic bag, grabbed his shovel, and headed into the tall grass. He moved with purpose but kept glancing over his shoulder. "Let's go," Sarah whispered. "Stay low." They slipped out of their car, creeping toward the fence, using machinery and thick bushes for cover. Carter hadn't gone far, maybe 30 yards into the grass. They had a clear view as he started digging, the shovel slicing into the dirt with steady thuds. Carter worked with practiced ease. His years of physical labor evident. In 10 minutes, he'd carved out a shallow grave, about 3 feet deep and 4 feet long. Michael's gut twisted as Carter opened the crate and dumped the black bag's contents into the hole. Human remains spilled out, decayed from years underground, bones, shredded fabric, maybe strands of hair, tumbling into the fresh pit. Then Carter did something that set Michael's blood on fire. He reached into the hole, picked out a small bone, maybe a finger, and pocketed it. A keepsake. Carter started filling the hole, packing the earth with his boots. In minutes, he scattered the excess dirt and covered the site with grass and debris, making it look untouched to an untrained eye. They slipped back to their car as Carter loaded his gear into the trunk. Michael reached for the radio, but Sarah grabbed his hand. "Hold off," she said. "Remember what he told Larson? Something about hiding it near those people to shift suspicion. Let's see where he heads next." Michael nodded, though it pained him. They needed the full scope, not just Carter with a shovel. Carter brushed dirt off his uniform and got back in his cruiser. Instead of leaving, he drove through an internal gate, flashing his badge to a bored security guard. "He's got clearance," Sarah muttered. "How long's this been going on?" Through binoculars, they watched Carter pull up outside what looked like a derelict generator shed at the complex's far end. The building was a mess, rust-streaked walls, windows boarded with plywood, neglected for years. Carter vanished inside. 5 minutes later, he emerged with a rectangular package wrapped in brown paper, its size and shape screaming narcotics to any seasoned cop. "Son of a bitch," Michael hissed. "He's picking up drugs." Sarah was already on the radio, voice hushed. "Dispatch, Detective Martinez here. Run a discreet check on the Sharp Park water treatment plant. Any reports, complaints, odd activity?" As they waited for a response, movement at the shed caught their eye. 2 men stepped out, escorting 2 young women, teenagers, by their look, dressed in cheap outfits, faces pale with fear. The men shoved the girls toward Carter, who grabbed their arms roughly and marched them to his cruiser, pushing them into the back seat. "That's enough," Michael said. "We need backup now." Sarah was on the radio again. "Dispatch, 10 to 99 at Sharp Park Water Treatment Plant. Officer involved in possible human trafficking and drug activity. Request immediate tactical team. Suspect is Deputy David Carter, San Mateo County. Also need units to detain Captain Robert Larson at Half Moon Bay Station, he's in on it. Copy, Detective. Units en route. ETA 5 minutes. They kept eyes on Carter, who was now chatting animatedly with the men outside the shed, their ease suggesting this was routine. Then a white van rolled up from deeper in the facility, old, plain, no rear windows. Michael's pulse raced, it matched Jessica's description. Carter returned to his cruiser, pulling in front of the van, clearly set to escort it out, using his police vehicle to shield a criminal scheme. The sheer nerve of it made Michael's fists clench. "They've been running this for years," Sarah said softly. "Look at how smooth it is, no hesitation, no rush, just another day's work." Sirens pierced the afternoon calm, signaling the arrival of multiple patrol cars and a SWAT van at the main gate. The security guard, overwhelmed, opened the barrier. Carter and the van driver clocked their situation at the same time. Both vehicles surged toward a side exit. Sarah floored the gas, joining the chase with the other units. The van driver panicked first, slamming to a stop and throwing his hands up. Carter tried to play it cool, pulling over and stepping out with feigned calm. "What's all this?" he called, aiming for confused authority. "No one told me about any operation. I was just checking this warehouse on my patrol." Sarah was out of the car, cuffs ready. "Save it, David. We saw it all." "This is a mix-up," Carter insisted as she cuffed him. "Those girls in my car. Caught them buying drugs. See?" He nodded desperately at the brown package on his front seat. "I was hauling them in." Michael leaned in close. "You're a hell of a liar, David. Too bad we saw you bury remains half an hour ago, probably Emily's. Then you stroll in here for your drug pickup and, what, your monthly bonus of trafficked girls." Carter's face drained of color. "You've got it all wrong. This is a mistake." "Your only mistake was getting caught," Sarah said, reading his rights as she led him to a patrol car. The tactical team had already stormed the generator shed. Michael and Sarah approached as officers emerged with cuffed suspects, tough-looking men who exuded menace even in restraints. Inside, the shed's true purpose was clear. A staircase led to a basement reeking of chemicals. The meth lab was massive: glass equipment, burners, tanks of precursor chemicals, a setup built for mass production. In a side room, they found more victims, women from teens to their 30s, all bearing marks of captivity and mistreatment. A female officer spoke to them softly in Spanish, reassuring them they were safe. One older woman, bolder than the rest, spoke up. "We handle the lab, packing, cleaning, but the young ones," she pointed to the teenagers, "they're kept for special clients, new partners, monthly perks for cops who help out." Michael stepped outside, battling nausea. This wasn't just corruption, it was systematic evil, shielded by those sworn to protect. Medics arrived, carefully guiding the victims to ambulances. Arrest vans filled with suspects. Evidence teams flooded the lab, cataloging everything. "We've got to retrieve those remains," Michael told Sarah. They grabbed another officer and drove back to Carter's makeshift grave. The disturbed soil was obvious to trained eyes. Using Carter's discarded shovel, they carefully unearthed the remains, transferring them to an evidence bag with the respect they deserved. "Emily," Michael whispered. After 13 years, they'd found her. Back at their cruiser, with the evidence safely stowed, Michael realized one critical piece was still missing. "We need Jessica Reynolds. Her testimony pulls this all together." Sarah was already on her phone, dialing. When Jessica picked up, Sarah's tone was steady but warm. "Ms. Reynolds, Detective Martinez here. We've got David Carter in custody and evidence against Robert Larson. Several officers are implicated. It's time to keep your word." After a heavy pause, Jessica's voice came through, shaky but resolute. "Thank God. Okay, I'll do it. We're sending a patrol unit to bring you safely to the station," Sarah reassured her. Michael grabbed the radio. "Dispatch, send a unit to 2855, Fairmont Avenue, Half Moon Bay. We need a protective escort for a witness." The water treatment plant now resembled a battlefield, cop cars scattered everywhere, suspects in cuffs, victims being tended to. They'd exposed a grotesque operation hiding right under the public's nose, shielded by badges and betrayed trust. "Let's head back," Sarah said. "It's time for a serious talk with Robert Larson." The Half Moon Bay police station buzzed with organized chaos. Suspects from the water treatment plant shuffled through booking, hands bound, expressions grim. Officers worked with precision, logging evidence, drafting reports, and liaising with other agencies. The sheer scale of their discovery was still settling in. Michael and Sarah handed their evidence to the property clerk: the bag of remains, Carter's shovel, photos from both sites. Every item was catalogued with care, the chain of custody airtight. Interrogation Room 2, a uniformed officer informed them. "Larson's in there. The captain wants you both on this." Through the one-way glass, Robert Larson looked diminished, a far cry from the commanding figure Michael had known. The poised supervisor was gone, replaced by a perspiring, cuffed man whose eyes flicked nervously around the room. Sarah took charge, sliding into the chair across from Larson while Michael sat silently beside her, scrutinizing the man he trusted for 20 years. "This interview is being recorded," Sarah started, flipping on the tape. "Present are Detective Sarah Martinez, Lieutenant Michael Thompson, and Captain Robert Larson. Mr. Larson, you've been informed of your rights." "This is all wrong," Larson muttered, his voice hollow. "Whatever you think you saw, we saw plenty," Sarah cut in smoothly. "You handing a payoff to Jessica Reynolds this afternoon. You and David Carter moving human remains from San Pedro Valley Park. We tailed Carter to a meth lab where he picked up drugs and trafficked women. Jessica's given a full statement about how you paid her to change her story 13 years back." Larson's face blanched, cycling through shades of ashen. "You tracked us from the park to the treatment plant," Michael added. "We saw it all, Robert." A tense silence hung in the air. Larson's breathing grew ragged, his shirt damp with sweat. "What went down in 1977? Michael asked softly. "What happened to my wife?" Larson stared at the table for a long moment, then lifted his gaze, something shattered in his eyes. "All right," he said. "You've got it all figured out. I'm done, 13 years of watching my back, dreading this moment." He drew a shaky breath. "A plea deal's my best shot now, so here's the truth. Every bit of it." Sarah leaned in, pen ready over her notepad. "Emily stopped a van that night, November 18, 1977. Routine traffic stop by the old industrial docks at Moss Landing, just outside Half Moon Bay. She had no clue it was hauling meth from the water treatment plant to the docks for distribution." Michael's fists tightened under the table, but he stayed quiet. The driver freaked out. Some lowlife courier, probably strung out on his own stash. He shot her through the passenger window, clipped her shoulder, spun her around. She was hurt, bleeding, but still alive. "And they called you?" Sarah said, not really asking. Larson nodded, looking wretched. "I was their guy on the inside, had been for 2 years. The money was good, and I told myself I was just turning a blind eye, not really in deep. But that night, when they called," he scrubbed his face, "I sent David to deal with it before backup could reach her last reported spot." "David killed her," Michael said, his voice raw. "No," Larson locked eyes with him. "I did. David wanted to call for medics, try to save her, but she'd seen the van, the driver. She could ID them, testify. So his voice broke. "I finished what the courier started, used her own gun. That's why the casing matched department ammo." The room went still, save for the faint hum of the recorder. We smashed her radio and dash cam, Larson went on, each word aging him further. Buried her body in San Pedro Valley Park, Middle Peak Trail, 2 miles in where no one hikes. Cartel guys drove her cruiser to Devil's Drop, shoved it into the sea. A storm that week covered our tracks. The blood in the trunk? Sarah asked. From moving her. We wrapped her in plastic, but, he gave a helpless shrug. Michael found his voice. All these years, the payments weren't just cash, were they? No, Larson admitted. Drugs for some of the guys hooked on the stuff, women for others' amusement. The operation ballooned over time. More cops got pulled in. Give us names, Sarah demanded. Larson let out a bitter chuckle. Names? You'd empty half the station if I listed them all. As Larson spilled the names, Michael's stomach churned. The rot ran deeper than he'd ever feared. No wonder Emily's case had stayed cold, half the department had been covering it up. I need air, Michael said suddenly, standing. Sarah shot him a worried look but nodded. Take your time. We're not finished here. Michael staggered into the hallway, legs unsteady. The weight of 13 years of deception, of lying beside an empty pillow, wondering if Emily had abandoned him or died, hit him like a tidal wave. Michael. He looked up to see Jessica Reynolds on a bench near the interrogation rooms, hands clasped tightly in her lap. Ms. Reynolds. He sat beside her. Thank you for coming. I gave my statement, she said softly. Laid out everything about that night, Larson's threats, the bribes. All of it. Her eyes welled up as she faced him. I'm so sorry. It's not right, what happened to you, to Emily, to anyone. I know I should face charges. I took their money, kept their lies. Michael studied her worn face, seeing the burden she'd carried. You were coerced, threatened. The DA will factor that in. But you stepped up when it counted, Michael cut in gently. Your testimony helped crack this case. That means something, maybe a deal, maybe immunity. But no matter what, he held her gaze, I'm thankful. Emily can rest now because you found your strength. They shared a brief hug, two souls tied by loss, finding a fleeting moment of comfort. Lieutenant Thompson. A forensic tech appeared in the doorway. Can you come with me? We need you to ID something. Michael excused himself and followed the tech to the evidence room. Tables along the walls were laden with tagged items from the day's raids. The tech guided him to a small table where the remains were carefully laid out. We'll send it all to the state lab for DNA testing, the tech said, slipping on latex gloves. But we found this with the remains. He held up an evidence bag containing a tarnished but intact pendant on a delicate chain. Michael knew it instantly, the platinum heart Emily wore daily during their marriage. With shaking hands, he took the bag, feeling the metal's familiar weight through the plastic. He flipped it over, and there it was, etched in graceful script, Michael and Emily forever. Tears spilled over, 13 years of bottled grief flooding out in the stark evidence room. The pendant made it visceral in a way the remains hadn't. This was Emily's, nestled against her heart, treasured. She hadn't walked away, she'd been ripped from him. The tech stepped back, giving him space to grieve. After a few minutes, Michael wiped his face and turned back to the table. He noticed one bone tagged separately. Found that in David Carter's pocket, the tech said. A finger bone. He kept it as a sick memento. Disgusting bastards, Michael muttered. These men had worn badges, sworn oaths, and betrayed everything policing stood for. He touched the bag of remains gently. "I found you, Emily. Rest now, Sergeant." The tech spoke quietly. "What you did today saved those women at the plant. They're at Half Moon Bay General, getting care. Their lives matter, too." Michael nodded, drawing resolve from that. Emily was gone, but others were saved. He verified the evidence for DNA testing and headed back to the hallway. Sarah emerged from the interrogation room, looking weary but triumphant. "He gave us everything," she said. "Names, dates, smuggling routes, contacts. This'll rip the department to pieces." "Good," Michael said firmly. "It needs to be gutted and rebuilt clean." They stood side by side in the corridor, watching suspects being processed, internal affairs officers arriving to launch their probe, the wheels of justice grinding forward. "This is gonna be a long fight," Sarah noted. "Trials, investigations, weeding out every dirty cop Larson named. The department's gonna change." "It shouldn't stay the same," Michael replied. "Not after this." Sarah glanced at her watch. "We should visit the victims from the plant, too. Get their statements, but also," she paused, "let them know they're safe now, that people give a damn." Michael nodded. "Let's do it." As they headed to the booking office, Michael reflected on their findings. Evil had thrived here because decent people stayed quiet, because those with power exploited it for profit. Emily had died for simply doing her duty, stopping the wrong van at the wrong moment. But truth, like her cruiser, had a way of rising to the surface. The storm that freed the evidence wasn't just weather, it was the storm of conscience in people like Jessica, the resolve of officers like Sarah, the demand for justice that wouldn't let buried sins stay hidden. The badge had to mean something. For Emily, for the women saved today, for the community that relied on them, they'd ensure it did again.